Hey gang, today we're going to be doing lesson 3-12, which is millimeters. So yesterday we worked on converting meters into centimeters. So we moved that decimal point. We took our centimeters and we added numbers to move it over, keeping in mind that when we go from meters to centimeters, our numbers are bigger because meters are like really, really big and centimeters are teeny, teeny, tiny, okay? So meters are really big. So the amount of meters you'll have or the amount of centimeters are going to be really tiny because when you chop it up into those 100 pieces, it's going to be super, super small. So now we're taking those centimeters and chopping them up even smaller into millimeters. So you know that those numbers are going to be a little bit bigger, okay? So let's take a look at our lesson. In the US, we measure things using customary. Everywhere else pretty much uses metric. So metric basically means millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Otherwise, we usually use inches, foot, yards, and miles. So when we do kilometers, it's just like multiplying by 10 every step that you go. So let's take a look at a video of this. So if you want to write down, we're really just concerned about this area right here. If you want to write that down, if we go to centimeters, we're multiplying by 10. If we're going to millimeters, we're dividing by 10. So go ahead and write that one section down. Don't worry about everything else because we talked about that yesterday. Okay, let's take a look at this video.
Two-minute math. Math in about 2 minutes. If it doesn't work, double your money back. Well, 2 times nothing is still nothing.
Okay, this lesson is going to quickly show us today how to measure to the nearest tenth of a centimeter and convert that to millimeters. Remember, when we grab a ruler, often rulers have metric and standard, one on each side, and we need to make sure we're using the proper side. The nice thing about metric is we're going to be able to use decimals, whereas in measuring inches, we have to use fractions. We look between two different numbers, for example, between the 2 and the 3, and when we count the number of units, it is not 10. There are actually 16 units between the 2 and the 3 here. That would mean that we're using the standard side. So if we look to the other side, for example, between the 2 and the 3 on the opposite side, we have 10 units between the 2 and the 3. That means that is base 10. Metric rulers are always base 10. I'm ready to measure the first line. Remember that rulers have gaps at the beginning, so as the ruler wears away over years of use, we still are able to place that at the 0 mark. Placing this ruler at the 0 mark and measuring this line, I have 6 full centimeters, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths of a centimeter past 6. We would simply write that as 6.5 centimeters. Converting that to millimeters is very easy. We simply change that by moving the decimal over one place. That converts into 65 millimeters. Measuring our second line. We don't want to start the ruler at the beginning of it. We want to start the ruler on the beginning of the line and the 0 mark on the ruler. Following the number of whole units, we have 4 whole centimeters. And then we need to count the tick marks, or the number of tenths of a centimeter past the 4. And this one has 7. That would be 4.7 centimeters. Again, that converts over to 47 millimeters.
All right, so let's just take a look at this for just 1 second. If we look at our centimeter and millimeter ruler, this is our centimeter ruler. The centimeters are on the top, the millimeters are on the bottom. And when you look at it, you can see that it has, if you have 1 centimeter, you're going to have 10 millimeters. So just take a look at right here. I have 1 centimeter and 10 millimeters. If I have 1 centimeter, I can very easily write that like this. Hold on, I'm having trouble, as usual. If I have 1 centimeter, so that'll be 1 centimeter here, well, all I have to do is if I write my 1 centimeter as a decimal, it'd be 1.0, and then I have to move my decimal over one spot. Move it over to the right one spot, and that will bring me to 10 millimeters. Okay? So all I do is I take my decimal point right here, move it over, and then put it over here, and then I end up with the number 10. Okay, let me just get rid of all this for you so we can move on. So think about how many millimeters are in 1 centimeter. So we just talked about that. How many millimeters are in 1 centimeter? If I look at my ruler, I see that if I look at my 1 centimeter, which is right up here, I see that if I go right down underneath it, it's 10 millimeters. So I know that there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. Now it's asking me what's the fraction of centimeters, what fraction of the centimeters is 1 millimeter? Well, let's think about that for just a second. Where would I find 1 millimeter? If this is, whoops. If this is 10 centimeters, well, where would 1 millimeter go? If this is 10 millimeters, I'm sorry, where would 1 millimeter go? Well, this is 5, so I know that the 1 millimeter is right here. And again, how many pieces is this part cut up into, the 0 to the 10? It should be cut up into 10 pieces. So what fraction of a centimeter is 1 millimeter? It'd be 1/10 of a millimeter. I'm sorry, 1/10 of a centimeter. How do I write this fraction as a decimal? Very easily, we just do 1/10. We put the 1 here, so we have 0.1. How would I write this in words? 1/10. And there you go. So let's try this here. How many millimeters are there in 0.5 of a centimeter? How many millimeters are there? Well, I know if I use the method that we were doing before, and I write my 0, I write my dot, and I write my 5, pretend that's a decimal point, okay? Now, all I have to do is move my decimal point from one space over to the right, one spot. Then I'm left with 0, 5, millimeters. Well, I know very well that 0.5 millimeters, if I say 0.5, what's my value of 0? That would be nothing. So I know very well that I can just as easily just say 5 millimeters instead of 0.5 millimeters, because that doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to get my pencil back. Okay, so this would be 5 millimeters. Okay? So let's take a look at how many millimeters are there. So if you're thinking about it, I'm just going to write, it's easier for me to just write things out. So if I do 3.5, so that's how many centimeters there are. 3.5. Okay, well, according to what we just saw, all I have to do is to go from millimeters to centimeters is to go from this spot over here to this spot over here and create my decimal. Now, I have 35 centimeters. 35 millimeters, sorry. 35 millimeters. I just converted it. And that is how you 35 millimeters. So I'm just going to put my M here. My pencil doesn't seem to want to worry. And then my other M for millimeters. I know this is really slow, but this pencil doesn't work the same way as if you're in Zoom. So now what do you think about millimeters? How would I convert 8.6 centimeters into millimeters? Think about it for just a second, and you try to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So you try to do it. First, write the number in centimeters, so 8.6. Then move your decimal, and that'll give you a 2-digit number. And that's how many millimeters it is. So if you did this, 8 point, and then a 6, and then you're like, well, Miss Y just said before that you have to move your decimal point. So you moved it from here to here. Now you know you have 86. And then you know that that is going to be millimeters. M. So make sure you always label your things. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide. Now it's your turn. Convert this into millimeters. 20 centimeters, 9.8 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and 0.4. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try them on your own. And then when you come back, play the video and you'll see the answers. Okay, welcome back. Here are the answers. Did you get them right? Did you get them wrong? See if you could go back and figure out why you got them wrong, if you got them wrong. And then here is your last slide right here, just to remember, if you have 1 centimeter, you have 10 millimeters. And I do want to show you one last thing, because this is going to come up in your work. If you have 25 millimeters, you can very easily convert that into centimeters, and I'm going to show you how. You just have to pay attention to what we're doing here, right? So if I look at the number 25, I know that my decimal point is right here by that 5. So for me to convert the 25 millimeters to centimeters, all I have to do is move my decimal point to the left instead to make it a smaller number. And then I know that it is 2.5 or 2.5 centimeters. So 25 millimeters is equal to 2.5 centimeters. Let's do it one more time, okay? Oh, this is not centimeters, this is millimeters. This is supposed to be centimeters, not millimeters. Sorry. Okay, let's do it one more time. If we have 32 millimeters, okay, 32 millimeters, okay, I know if I'm looking at 32 millimeters that my decimal point is right here by that 2. And then when I look at that 2, I know that I have to just move it once to the left to make it centimeters. And then what I'm left over with is 3.2. 3.2. I know these points don't look very well. These decimal points don't look very good, but centimeters. There you go. Okay? So go on to your classwork, do classwork 3-12, and then you do have your centers. You're just going to do the center slides. Don't worry about going on to Splash Math because you still have your math study guide to do, okay? Good luck. So don't worry about the splash math stuff. Just do the center slides, and that's it. Okay? Have a great time.